Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inner Spark, the place where stories ignite hope, courage, and a belief in endless possibilities. Today, I bring you an inspiring journey that shows how one thought can alter the direction of an entire life. Life often tests us with doubts, fears, and small thinking. But when we dare to think bigger, doors we never imagined begin to open. This story follows a young man named Ford, whose struggles lead him to discover the power of thinking big and changing his life forever. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need a spark today. Ford grew up in a modest home in Manchester, where money was always tight and opportunities seemed scarce. His father worked long hours as a taxi driver, and his mother balanced two jobs just to keep food on the table. Ford often overheard adults saying life was about surviving, not dreaming, and those words quietly shaped his thoughts. He began to believe that success was reserved only for the privileged or lucky. Yet deep inside, there was a voice telling him he was meant for more, though he kept it buried beneath fear and doubt. One rainy night, while staring out his window, Ford promised himself he would one day break free from limitations. At university, Ford studied business, but never really felt confident enough to stand out. He compared himself to wealthier classmates who drove expensive cars and spoke about family businesses. This constant comparison made him shrink into the background, afraid to raise his hand or share his ideas. One day, his professor noticed his hesitation and told him, "Your thoughts will either be your prison or your wings." Those words hit Ford like thunder. For the first time, he wondered if his small thoughts had been holding him back all along. That question began to stir something new in his mind. When Ford met Sarah, a fellow student with a contagious enthusiasm, his world began to shift. Sarah grew up in a working-class family too, but she dreamed fearlessly and worked toward her goals without apology. She often told Ford that thoughts shape destiny, and she lived by that rule. Watching her made him both admire and envy her courage. One evening, she said, "Ford, stop playing small. The world doesn't need another quiet spectator. It needs bold thinkers." Her words shook him, forcing him to confront his self-doubt. That night, he stayed awake wondering what would happen if he truly thought big. Ford's first attempt at thinking big was modest, entering a startup competition. The challenge was simple: present a business idea that could solve a real problem. At first, his mind whispered excuses. "You're not smart enough. Others are better. You'll fail." But he remembered Sarah's words and pushed forward. He spent nights researching, brainstorming, and sketching ideas on paper. His idea focused on an app to help students from low-income backgrounds find affordable study resources. Though simple, it carried a piece of his own struggle. For the first time, he felt his thoughts were turning into something powerful. Encouraged by the experience, Ford started attending entrepreneurial meetups in London. At first, he felt like an outsider, listening to people throw around terms he barely understood. But instead of shrinking, he decided to learn. He took notes, asked questions, and even volunteered to help organize events. Slowly, people began noticing his commitment. One evening, a seasoned entrepreneur named James told him, "You're not lacking talent, Ford. You're just thinking too small. Raise your vision." That advice planted another seed in his mind. Determined to raise his vision, Ford began waking up at 5 a.m. to read, learn, and plan. He devoured books by successful entrepreneurs, studied online courses, and even reached out to mentors for guidance. Every morning, he wrote affirmations in his journal. "I am capable. I am destined for great things. My thoughts create my future." These words became his fuel, turning doubt into determination. Despite progress, Ford faced a major setback when his first real startup idea collapsed. Investors backed out, his small team left, and he felt crushed under the weight of failure. For days, he locked himself in his flat, questioning if he had been foolish to dream at all. But during one quiet evening, he remembered something his father once said: "The only real failure is quitting." Those words lit a spark inside him. He realized setbacks were not the end, but lessons to strengthen his next move. Slowly, he picked himself back up. Sarah, who had always supported him, reminded Ford that great thinkers fail more than they succeed. She pointed out that every visionary, whether Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, or Oprah, had faced rejection before triumph. Ford, she said, thinking big doesn't mean avoiding failure. It means daring to rise again after every fall. Hearing this gave him courage. He began to view failure not as proof of weakness, but as evidence of growth. That shift in perspective became his turning point. Ford soon discovered an opportunity in the growing field of sustainable energy. Inspired by his childhood memories of his father's taxi struggles, he envisioned affordable solar solutions for low-income families. The idea was ambitious, almost overwhelming, but this time he didn't let fear shrink it. He thought big, drew bold plans, and pitched the vision to anyone willing to listen. Many dismissed him, saying it was too risky. But Ford's belief was stronger than the doubt surrounding him. His thoughts were no longer small, they were limitless. After months of rejections, a small group of investors finally saw potential in Ford's project. With funding secured, he worked tirelessly to bring his vision to life. He assembled a diverse team, blending experts with dreamers like himself. The journey was anything but easy. Technical problems, financial hurdles, and sleepless nights tested him at every step. But whenever exhaustion threatened to break him, he repeated his mantra, "Change your thoughts, change your life." Those words carried him through storms. The first breakthrough came when a family installed Ford's affordable solar kit and shared their joy. They said the system lowered bills and gave them hope for a better future. That moment was priceless, more rewarding than any paycheck. It reminded Ford why he had started, to make a difference, not just a profit. The news spread quickly, attracting media attention and more investors. Suddenly, Ford's dream wasn't just his, it was becoming a movement. As his company grew, Ford faced new challenges, balancing growth with staying true to his mission. Some partners pressured him to increase prices for higher profit, but Ford refused to betray his vision. He remembered where he came from, the nights his parents struggled to pay bills. His loyalty to his purpose won people's respect, strengthening his reputation as a visionary leader. Thinking big had not only changed his life, it was changing countless others. Ford's story spread far beyond his company. Students wrote to him, saying they felt inspired to dream bigger. Parents thanked him for giving their children affordable energy. Governments reached out, eager to support his vision. Every message reminded him of one truth: greatness begins in the mind. The seeds of belief, once planted, had grown into forests of possibility. Sarah, who had walked beside him through every storm, eventually became his business partner and closest ally. Their shared belief in the power of thoughts bonded them deeply. Together, they expanded the company globally, helping millions of families. One evening, Sarah told him, "Ford, remember when I told you the world doesn't need spectators? You become proof of that." Ford smiled, knowing that her words had changed his life. Looking back, Ford realized that the power of thinking big wasn't just about building a company. It was about rewriting the story he had once believed about himself. It was about transforming fear into courage, doubt into belief, and limitation into opportunity. The true victory wasn't in wealth or fame, but in proving to himself and the world that thoughts truly shape destiny. Ford's journey reminds us that our greatest battles are fought in the mind. If we think small, we live small. But if we dare to think big, we open doors that lead to extraordinary lives. Change your thoughts, and you change your life. It's as simple and as powerful as that. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to InnerSpark for more stories that fuel your fire within. Your spark can light up the world, so keep it burning bright.